them to come to know Jesus as the Messiah, but to be aware of the hurt. And so I think one of the sad things for me has been realizing the ways in which we Christians have often been hurtful people.
对于中国，世界上可能基督徒人数增长最快的国家，什么才是基督徒学者要关心的大问题呢？
We very much need a new generation of scholars, and China needs a generation of scholars that believes that not only does Jesus love them as individuals, but Jesus cares about China. I gave a whole series of lectures in China at a bunch of different seminaries, 3 self-seminaries, and the China Christian Council assigned a translator to me, a young woman, maybe in her 20s, who was really good. She did, I think, a good job of translating because everybody seemed to ask questions that based on what I'd really said. But when I first met her, she told me how excited she was that she had become a Christian, been baptized the year before, and really excited about coming to Christ. But after she translated a number of my lectures, she said, I have a theological problem. She said, my parents are Buddhists, and they're very upset with me for becoming a Christian because they like Jesus. They think he's a wonderful moral teacher. But they're angry that in becoming a Christian, I'm condemning all of my ancestors to hell, you know. And she said, I don't want to do that. You know, I love Jesus, but I want to honor my ancestors, you know. Simon Chan at Singapore University has written a book on local Chinese theologies, and he says, and this really speaks to me in the light of that kind of experience, that we need to wrestle with this whole question of not asking people to stop honoring their ancestors and to be thinking about what it means in a Chinese context to give the impression that in coming to Christ you're rejecting your family line. And I don't have a lot of answers to that, but I take that in the United States we don't want to talk about that. That sounds like we're going to get into heresy or work with purgatory or Catholic ideas, but it's one of the most burning issues of young Chinese Christians who have recently come to Christ from other faith traditions. And so this is one of the areas where I think we need a lot. We in the West need to be learning from those kinds of questions and those kinds of challenges.
理查德·毛认为，我们需要思考在处境化的语境中与邻舍对话、交往，好显出我们有修养的确信。
But God cares about the whole world. He cares about the physical creation. But he also cares about the ways we act in the world, in political life, in our intellectual explorations, in our economic activities. God cares about the whole world. John 3:16 was a very important verse for me. That whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. I've come to appreciate John 3:17 as well. In those two verses, John 3:16 and 17, the word for world there is cosmos. It's the whole created order. And when you get to verse 17, for God sent the Son into the cosmos, not to condemn the cosmos, but that the cosmos through him might be saved. I find China to be a very exciting place to be. I met a historian in Asia who was raised in a village in China and a devout Christian, and his parents were Christians. He comes from a line of Christians. And he went back to his village to understand the history of how the gospel came to the village in southern China where he was raised. And he said, when I read the letters and the records, every missionary had a name, you know, Dr. So-and-so or Ms. So-and-so. But when they talked about the Christian Chinese leaders, they said, a Chinese gentleman or a Chinese lady. And they hadn't preserved the names, you know. And he said, I'm glad they brought the gospel to my village, but I wish they would have kept the names, you know, and not everything that we've done in bringing the gospel